Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived two best friends called Amina and Hadiza. The two had been best friends from childhood. They grew up together in the same neighborhood and did everything with each other. Hadiza was a married woman and had been married to Abu Bakr for over 5 years, and they were blessed with a daughter. Hadiza and her husband were a happy couple, but they were not satisfied with the fact that they didn't have a male child. According to the traditions of their land, a man who had no male child was not considered a real man and would not be regarded in the village. This brought shame to their family, as the village started passing rumors around and making a joke of them. They were both unhappy at their predicaments, but Hadiza was more disturbed because she was the woman, and it was seen as her duty and responsibility to give her husband a male child, despite having a female child already. Hadiza kept bearing the shame for years till she could no longer take it. She approached her husband Abu Bakr one day and suggested that he took a second wife, so the new wife could bear them a male child and take the shame off their faces. But unluckily for her, she didn't get a positive reaction from her husband. Abu Bakr watched his wife in shock. Every other woman would wish that their husbands never married a second wife, but Hadiza was the one suggesting that he took a second wife. He explained to her that he was not bothered about the gossips of the villagers and would rather have only one wife because he had friends who had 2 or more wives, and he never liked the way they lived, as they had one problem or the other in their homes. Even after all the explanation, Hadiza was still convinced that getting a second wife would be the solution to their problem. She confided in her best friend Amina about what she thought about getting a second wife for her husband, and Amina didn't buy the idea. She said she didn't support it because it was too risky for her marriage, and coupled with the fact that her husband didn't want it. Hadiza opened up to her friend that she thought about all the implications of having a bad co-wife, so she wanted Amina to be her husband's second wife. At least Amina was her best friend, and they would all live in harmony. Amina had always wished to be married, so Hadiza presenting her with this opportunity was like a dream come true. She began buying into the idea of being Abu Bakr's second wife. Hadiza, on the other hand, never stopped convincing her husband to take a second wife and save their family from shame. She told him that Amina was willing to be the second wife, so his fear of having issues in his family should be the least of his problems. After much consideration, Abu Bakr agreed. He was not happy about the decision, but he just did it to make his wife happy. Several weeks after, the marital rites between Abu Bakr and Amina was done, and he started living with his 2 wives. The 2 friends were glad that they now lived together as co-wives. A few months later, Amina got pregnant, and not long after, they realized that Hadiza was also pregnant. Abu Bakr was so happy. They supported themselves throughout their pregnancy, and they hoped that they were both carrying male children. Surprisingly, Hadiza and Amina went into labor on the same day. Abu Bakr hurriedly went to call on the village midwife to help both women to put to bed. He stood outside the hut where his wives were giving birth because the pressure was too much for him. They both successfully had their children, but Hadiza felt very weak after delivery, unlike Amina. The midwife came out to inform Abu Bakr that his wives had just put to bed. Hadiza gave birth to a baby girl, while Amina gave birth to a baby boy. He was so happy, at least he now had a male child. Few years down the line, Hadiza began to notice that Amina was acting strange. Whenever she tried talking to her, Amina would be uninterested and cold. One day, Amina saw that her son was playing with Hadiza's daughter. She became so furious that she cautioned Hadiza and her daughters to avoid her son before they would bewitch him. Hadiza didn't understand what was going on, Bewitch your son? How? She asked Amina. Amina took her son away. She began being disrespectful to Hadiza continuously, and Abubakar would caution her about it. One time during an argument between the two women, Amina told Hadiza that she had eaten all her male children. That was why she couldn't bear any son for her husband. Hadiza was infuriated, but she didn't want to bother her husband. So she went to the village elders to report the situation. The men told her that there was nothing they could do because, according to the traditions of their land, the wife who was able to bear a son for her husband first would be superior to the other wives, despite her initial position. So to the villagers, Amina, who was the second wife, was superior to Hadiza just because she had a son first for Abubakar. Hadiza wished she had never brought in her friend as her co-wife. She never suspected that Amina could turn against her, despite all the good things she had done for her. Hadiza told Abubakar to send Amina away, but he explained to her that he knew that marrying a second wife would bring disputes into his home. That was why he avoided it at all costs. And it was too late at that point because Amina already had a son for him. He never loved Amina, he just got married to her because Hadiza kept persisting. So he usually spent most of his time with Hadiza. This made Amina so angry, and she started plotting for ways to separate Abubakar from Hadiza. She couldn't understand how, after having a son for Abubakar, he still always chose Hadiza over her. That was where her hatred for Hadiza came from. She wanted Hadiza out of the way so Abubakar could give her attention too. So one day, she made arrangements with two men to hide behind the bush so that when Hadiza passed there to go to the market, they would attack her. But luckily for Hadiza, she went to the market through another route. Every plan Amina had against Hadiza went wrong. No matter how much she tried, it never just worked. One sunny day, they heard screams outside their hut and they all ran out. It was the midwife who assisted in their delivery. She was crying and saying that someone was after her life, but they didn't see anyone running after her. She said that she could no longer keep it a secret as she had been tormented for months, so she must confess. Her noise had alerted all the neighbors and they were all outside to hear what she had to say. She confessed that it was actually Hadiza that gave birth to a baby boy, while Amina gave birth to a girl, and not the other way around. On the delivery day, the two women had put to bed, but Hadiza was so weak and was unaware of what was going on around her. So Amina realized that she gave birth to a girl while Hadiza had a boy. Out of jealousy, she pleaded with the midwife to switch their babies as she couldn't bear seeing Hadiza being celebrated. The midwife was reluctant, but Amina persuaded and promised her a lot of things, so she agreed to do it. Everyone was surprised at the story she just narrated. Little did Hadiza know that she had been taking care of her best friend's daughter all these years. She couldn't also understand why Amina was wicked to her own daughter, despite knowing that that was her real child. This was an abomination. Amina, sensing danger, wanted to run away, but she was caught immediately. She was paraded like a thief all around the village with the midwife. Then both women were finally banished from the village to never return. Hadiza was still in total shock while Abubakar comforted her. He was happy that at least the boy belonged to Hadiza and Amina was out of their lives for good. Hadiza took the two children as her own and they all lived together in harmony. What we can learn from this story is that we should avoid being spiteful towards others, especially to those who have been good and kind to us. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe and turn